It's interesting to know that my interest for Route 66 started right here at the Big Texan. It seems like a lot of the really amazing things in my life have centered around this place. I used to work in the gift shop, and while I was teaching school, that was kind of my part-time job, keep me from going crazy job. And one afternoon I happened to look up, and there was this man standing in front of me, and I said, "I know you from somewhere." And he, in his really deep, gravelly voice, he said, "You probably saw my picture on a book." Well, sure enough, it was Michael Wallace, and we sold his books in our gift shop. He and his wife had just gone to California. They were working on some kind of Route 66 promotion. Visited with them a little bit. They came back in a couple of weeks with a tour, and we had an old-fashioned book signing, and I got to talk to them a little bit more. I was teaching history, and I can remember thinking over that summer how amazing it would be to be able to teach sixth graders about Route 66. They were 11 and 12-year-olds that were already dreaming about having their own cars, and what teacher wouldn't want to teach about a history that their kids someday could go out and have a part of? I could teach them about the Alamo, and I could teach them about the Revolutionary War, but they would never be able to experience that. It's already done, it's already over with. They could go and explore the battle sites and even go to the Alamo and take a look around there. But Route 66 was something they could actually experience. They could drive on it, they could eat in some of the different diners, they could meet some of the people that owned those businesses and had been there for all those years. So I spent that summer doing research. And amazingly enough, my school moved from just kind of a off-the-road school to right on 6th Street here in Amarillo, and that's one of the old Route 66 alignments. So here I was teaching sixth graders on 6th Street about Route 66. I taught American history. I just kind of plugged it right in the middle. And the more that I studied and the more I learned about Route 66, the more passionate and more obsessed that I got with this road. I have been asked many times, why in the world? It's just a road. What I found in Route 66 was I found myself. I found out who I was and where I came from. I grew up in a family in Wyoming, and Wyoming's very rich in history, and I know about my grandparents, but I don't know about my grandparents' grandparents. And I don't really know a whole lot about my parents when they were growing up. It's like there was this lost generation, and I felt like I had found a bridge. Route 66 came to be in 1926 with the rest of the highways. And I thought about all the history that has gone on just in our country since 1926, and how Route 66 played such a big role in that. We've all read the book, Grapes of Wrath, and we've seen the movie about it, and we've heard about the Okies and the Arkies making their way across. And so that's what it did for me. Just, besides the love of a history that I could actually go out and experience, then what I saw it doing to the kids was even more impressive. They were going home and telling Mom and Dad about the Route 66 stories and the places that we were talking about and the people. And the parents were like, "Yeah, that's interesting." Then they would tell the grandparents. And the grandparents would sit them down and say, "Honey, let me tell you about the time I took a Route 66 trip." And then there was a generation that had been bridged, and they were sharing stories. Probably the coolest thing that a parent ever did to me was say, "Do you know how long it takes to get to Oklahoma City from Amarillo, Texas?" And I had to answer, "No, I don't." And they said, "Well, it used to take 4 hours, but since you've been teaching them about Route 66, it takes us 6 or 7 hours." And I just smiled, because that meant that those parents were stopping and letting those kids experience those Route 66 attractions between here and there. All of a sudden, it wasn't about the destination anymore, it was about the journey. And when I was a kid, it didn't matter where we went. My dad was in a hurry to get there. We didn't get to stop and see what the point of interest was. So maybe I'm trying to bring a little bit of that back and to relive it. But I definitely discovered something that I could be obsessed about, and yet it gave back to me, and I could definitely give it to other people as well.